All right. So today I get to sit down with Amanda Harris. And Amanda, you're somebody that I've been, of course, trying like crazy to get our schedules together so we could be on together. But one of the real reasons, other than just like everybody else I've had on, that I think you have a great story, that I want to get you on the show is because you are kind of like the epitome of somebody that's like not what people immediately expect and think, right? So like I wanted you to kind of get on and like so people could kind of see more about you, right? Because like obviously, you know, I'm sure the hair is a big part of it, but like you used to also be like, you know, a lot more jacked and all of that. And so like people would just get this impression immediately walking in that is so the opposite.
I put off the intimidating look, but I'm a big teddy bear. Yep.
Yeah, like just the complete opposite. So like, you know, anybody that doesn't know, Amanda is my partner in crime at Sky Fitness. So, you know, so we work together, you know, well here. And like the good thing about it is we do a good cop, bad cop.
Yes.
And it's the exact opposite.
I'm the good cop. Yes. Everybody thinks you're the nice one, and they'll come to you, and I'm like, it's me. And they run from me.
Yeah. Like they usually, you know, like immediately want to fight with you.
Yeah.
And then see me come in and just don't even expect what's about to happen, which is even more comical.
Agreed. I think that's why.
Yeah. So, you know, tell us, you know, where you're from and like, you know, where you grew up.
I grew up in Canton, Ohio.
Okay.
I went to Perry High School. I grew up, everybody in my family, we always had balls in our hands. So we were all athletes.
Big into sports.
Yes, all athletic. So
how many people in your family? How many kids in your family? You have a big family, right?
There's 8 kids in my family. Every one of us played a sport.
Wow.
So
like every sport known to man or just
like I have a brother that played baseball in college. I have another one that played football. I played basketball in college. I have 2 sisters that were cheerleaders, but we all were into something.
And your father played football, right?
Yep, my dad was a really well-known football player, and that we had big shoes to fill. So all of my siblings, we went to the same school my dad did, so we had big shoes to fill because they have huge pictures of him all over the school.
He was in the NFL, right?
Yeah, and they have huge pictures of him all over. So it's.
What team did you play for?
I believe the Raiders.
Okay.
I was little, but I remember it, but not.
But so, like, he played for the Raiders and lived in Ohio.
Well, we lived in Ohio.
Okay.
He traveled.
Oh, he went.
So
yeah,
he traveled.
Okay.
So I have 8 siblings. So, but yeah. So, but not long. And then he came back, worked. When my older sister and I were, I think I was like 2, he came back. And then was home with us and left football. But yeah, and he was a single dad with us when we were little.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And so single dad with 8 kids.
Well, he was a single dad with just my sister and I.
Oh, okay.
And then he met my mom, the lady he's was married to for 40 some years, and married her, and she adopted me. So yes, so that's how that went. But yeah, so I was very little. I don't remember a lot. My grandmother would tell me, "I took you to games," but I don't remember. But
what age did you start playing sports? Like
probably, I remember like 3rd and 4th grade playing for like softball teams. Okay. But about 6th grade is when I started playing basketball, and I realized that I'm as good as most of the boys I was playing with. Yeah. So I was like, I think this is what I'm going to do.
And like, was it something like in you that you were like, I really want to do sports, or were you kind of like encouraged to do so?
I'm not sure. I don't remember ever my dad like pushing me. Yeah. I remember him always pushing me to be the best. Like whatever you're going to do, be the best, which is why I've always been very like goal driven and very aggressively, just I guess competitive is the best word. So.
Yeah, like, that's how I grew up too, because like I grew up in a small town. Yeah, and it's where my parents grew up, and like my father, same thing, played every sport in town, and was like the football player, basketball player, and like everybody, so everybody expected his kids to be athletic and to play sports. So it was like there was a certain expectation.
Yeah, as soon as they saw my last name, they were like, I want her on my team.
Yeah, same. Yeah, because my father's like one of 6 kids, so they were all like known.
Yes.
Like so like
big shoes to fill.
Was he? like a typical sports dad, like
Yes.
on the sidelines, like
Yes.
like hardcore,
running up and down the court, screaming. My mom, I could hear just my mom would scream, like, go, and like embarrassing stuff. But my dad, every time I got pulled out, would come down and whisper in my ear, tell me what I did wrong.
Yeah.
And even when we had great games, he would always say that this was great, but you need to work on this.
Yeah.
And he's been like that with all 8 of us. We, like I said, we all were in sports. My mom and dad would just bounce around from one game to the next.
Yeah.
But yeah, my dad, they couldn't always stay the whole game.
Yeah, that'd be rough running around with so many kids and all of them doing activities.
Yes.
That's crazy. I can't even imagine.
Yeah. So I played like softball, like during the summer. Didn't play. I played for our high school 1 year, and then basketball, and I did camps all summer and just kind of honed that skill. So
I was the same. Like I play a sport every season.
Yeah.
Was constantly doing
track.
all-star team all summer long.
Yep.
Like, so it was always something that had to be done. My father, though, I would say, like, he came to his games, but like he didn't like kind of like participate from the sideline. He kept it quiet, and then after the game, I would hear about how it looks like I'm pulling a trailer and all that kind of shit.
Yeah, how you need to work on your ball handling. Yes, I would get that too, but it would be in the middle of the game, and he'd be yelling at my coach. They'd both be, I'd be like, ugh.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
And then you played in college.
I did. Basketball. I played for Akron U. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Which one?
Akron University. The Zips. The Zips. Yeah, I was like the smallest. I walked in there thinking I was, big shit. Because, I got the basketball scholarship, and I'm looking at these girls that are like 6'2".
Way
yes.
Big,
And I'm like, oh, crap.
Yeah. So that was like kind of like tapered off from there.
Then,
do I remember you saying you coached at one point?
I've coached a couple times. I've coached high school and I've coached college.
And how was that?
Well, I learned really quickly, like I cannot coach little, like under 6th grade, or even really, really, really JV under, because I'm like very like grab jerseys, like that's how my coach. My coach could grab my jersey and like screams in my face, and like a 6th grader would like cry.
Yeah.
So I was like, I got to coach high school or college. So when I graduated, I coached, like was assistant coach for 1 year. And then Perry, the school I graduated from, asked me to come there and coach. And I was there about 10 years.
Oh, wow.
I coached for 10 years. I was I was JV coach, and then I was an assistant varsity coach.
Both for basketball?
All basketball. I did ran track, and I did do state track meets.
Oh,
I was good in track. I ran the hurdles. I had a record at our high school until about 2 years ago. My dad had 11. I had 7. He still has 5. I have 1. Okay. So 1 left. So, but we'll see. My other brother still has like 6. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah. No one's going to be that. Maybe my nephew. He's really good. But yeah. So then I loved coaching, and even when I moved here, I thought when I slow down, I might want to coach again. But that's not happening. So.
And what'd you get your degree in?
Well, originally my degree was in biology, and then I minored in exercise science.
Okay. What made you go for biology?
I literally went to college to play basketball.
Oh, so
I had
it was just
It was, what are you good at? And I was like, I love science. It was always easy for me.
Okay.
So that's what I picked.
Okay.
And
did you like it?
I did like it.
Okay.
But
like in school, like
yes, I liked it. But because I always played sports, one of my coaches said, you could do this for a living, and I was like, play basketball, and he's like, no, like, so that's why I got that. Yeah. He was like, no, you're done after college, honey, you're too small.
Yeah, you should find something.
But yeah, so then I did exercise science, and right when I graduated, I did the NASM training. At that time, it was like 12 weeks.
Yeah.
And got my certification.
So right out of college, right? You decided you're going to do PT.
Yes, right out. I mean, I was 21, 22, and I was like, this is what I want to do.
Nice.
And my parents were like, do you want to go to more school? And I was like, yes. So I went back, got my master's. I got that from Ashland University, which is a smaller college.
And your master's was in?
Biology, which is
another biology
Yes,
again.
biology. Just because I thought maybe I wanted to go, like, maybe be a doctor. And that was a lot more schooling.
Yeah.
And then, like, my first real, like, big girl job was in the morgue, the Stark County morgue. I was a pathology assistant for a midnight shift. Jeez. So it was very boring.
Boring?
Yes, boring. Not, people think, oh, it'd be horrible and scary. It wasn't. It's not at all what you see. But when the
But
fire...
I imagine you had to see a lot of dead bodies in the morgue. But,
lots, yeah.
But like that, you're fine with that.
Nah, I don't care. And that thing I was never really...
Is that because you were doing a lot of dissecting in school for biology?
Yeah, I was just never grossed out by that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Like nothing gross. Like
None
I
of that
wasn't...
bothered
Yeah, I mean, I have brothers, and I always was playing with the boys. So, I mean, no. So the firemen used to come in, and I would hear all these like cool stories, and I was like, I think I want to do that. And my parents were like, you just went 8 years of school to do that? You know, and they were like, hey, there's a test. Take it. If you take the test, I took a test, passed.
So to become a fireman?
Yeah, because I wanted to be on the fire department. I really had no desire to ever fight fires. I've been on the fire truck like 4 times.
Okay.
I do have a fire science associate
It was like
degree.
all about being like
a medic.
paramedic.
Yes,
Okay.
that's what I wanted to do. I went to take the test, and there was like 300 people there, and like 4 girls.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
I was like,
that's
oh
typical.
God.
Yeah.
And there was like a bunch of departments there that were hiring, and quite a few of them came up and said, "Hey, man, we don't hire women. Too much trouble."
Really?
Yep. And I was like,
Wow.
"Okay." You know,
I mean,
this
don't
is
get
25
me
years
wrong.
ago. Yeah.
But still, I mean, I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
even in this day and age, and Tina will laugh when she's listening to this to edit it, because she always makes fun of me and calls me a woman hater, which I'm just not like a typical feminist.
Yes.
Right. But the reason why she says that, and like because she's heard some of my rants about some of these things, is like I'm all about women doing all the same things that men
100%.
do, right? I mean, you and I both work in male-dominated fields, right? So it's not like, you know, I don't believe in that, right? But I also believe if you're gonna do it, you need to do it the right way.
Agreed.
And not do it like you're entitled to be able to do it.
Agreed.
You know,
And-
like you got to put in the same amount of work.
Yep.
You got to go, and unfortunately, you have to go above and beyond, just for the reason of being female. It is what it is, and like you shouldn't get special treatment for
Agreed.
it, right?
Yep.
So, like, I mean, thinking about you going to fire academy and all this stuff, I don't think twice about it.
Yeah.
But like I've seen plenty of
Yes.
other people where
Agreed.
I'm like.
Yeah, agreed.
Like, really, this is you can't Dale would tell stories about being in the police department and the fire department. And I'm like, but, they just give women a bad name.
They do. And this was way before there was any of that. So the instructor came up and said, "Hey, we're going to give women an extra 3 minutes." So
Yes,
I was like,
can't deal with.
so if a building is on fire and I have to drag someone out, you're going to just give me that extra
Yeah, the
time?
fire's gonna wait 3 minutes?
So
No.
I said, no, thank you.
Yeah.
If I don't pass it in 3 minutes and 30 seconds, I don't pass.
Yeah, exactly.
And he said, well, I said, no, if I don't pass, I don't pass. So I was the only female that passed, and I passed with the 3 minutes, 30 seconds.
Yeah.
The reason being is right after college, I met a trainer. I started working at Anytime Fitness, just like part-time training. And a guy there, one of the trainers said, you have a body, you should do some bodybuilding.
Yeah.
And so I was already in that mode of bodybuilding and endurance. And he used to say to me, your legs are fat, you need to go do sprints. And that's exactly how he would say it. John Foster was his name. And he was just like that coach and he literally looks like Hercules.
Yeah.
So he had the perfect form.
Yeah.
And that's just how he coached his bodybuilders. So it was like, you look like crap, go do this. And we were like, okay. And even the girls. So that's why I'm like, if I don't. So I did pass. Then I had like 4 offers from departments because they were like, so I ended up working for the city.
Which city?
I worked for the city of Canton first.
Okay.
And I actually rode with the same partner for years. Like, it's funny, he's still there. And enjoyed it. They sent me to paramedic school. I went from paramedic school to critical care paramedic.
And did it turn out to be what you were hoping for, being a paramedic?
I did love it.
Okay.
You're on a 24/48. So during the 48, I worked in the emergency department. So I did
wow.
both. And they had said, you can go back to nursing school. We'll do this and that. And I was like, okay. So my parents were like, are you just like going to constantly be in school?
Yeah.
And I just I always love learning new things. And if somebody's going to pay for it, I'm going to take it.
Yeah.
So that's what I did.
Yeah.
So I just kept going to school, and I worked years for Cleveland. I worked for Canton. I worked in the hospital, in the emergency department, and I did it for like 11 years. And I did enjoy it, But I always tell people was seeing people on their worst days.
Yeah.
You know, that's your worst day.
Yeah.
I wanted to do life flight. I was able to do that for a couple months. That's just was horrible.
Really?
It's just most of your patients got like a 30% survive.
Yeah, most
I mean,
of them
it's
don't survive,
no.
so yeah.
Lots of kids. You know, it's just that's hard. So mentally, I was like, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
So I had met my guy I was dating at the time. We ended up getting married. And I had said to him, how would you feel if I quit this and went into PT for full time? Because I had like 3 clients. I was still training. I was working at the hospital. I was, you know,
it's a lot.
running. Yeah, it was a lot.
It's a lot.
But I liked it. I liked everything I did. I loved it.
But it's also 24/48.
Yeah.
It's just a hard schedule.
It is. It's hard to sleep.
Everybody.
Yes, it is.
Like,
it is.
It's hard on you, hard on your family. Like, it's not easy. It's not for everybody. Yeah.
So he said, "Go ahead." He said, he said, and I remember like the first month I trained clients, I made like $300, and I'm like, I went from a full pension salaried job with great benefits and vacation.
Yeah.
And I was like freaked out.
Yeah.
And then within
you're
like
totally on your own at that point.
Yeah.
Like, it's up to you. Yeah.
And then within like 6 months of that, I had like 12 clients every week.
Yeah.
So it just kind of grew, and from there, and then I worked.
So I mean, it's interesting because, you know, one of the things that we always say about personal trainers, right, is that everybody wants to be a personal trainer.
Yeah.
At some point. And like what people don't realize about being a personal trainer is that it's less about what you look like and, you know, how much time you spend in the gym, although it's important to spend time in the gym, but not on you working out.
Yeah.
Is just being able to be a salesperson.
Yes.
In doing it, because it is your business. This is like, you know, you are now an entrepreneur, whether you think of it or not. Because you know, we have a lot of people come in and they're like, I want to be a trainer, great. And then you fill out the paperwork and they're like, okay, like, where's my clients?
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean?
Always.
Go get them. They're out there on the floor. You got to go sell yourself to people.
Yeah.
I'm not going to hand you people because that doesn't work that way.
Yeah, and they're not going to like that. Yeah.
They're not, and the clients don't want me to hand somebody and then this is their person. They want to pick you because they trust you, they like you, whatever.
Yeah.
So like, where do you think you got that skill set from? Because I mean, you close PT like nobody's business.
My dad was like that, like
as a salesman.
But he was honest.
Charismatic.
Yes, but he just had a personality that was for days. I probably you know, I have a big personality.
Yeah.
But I've always been like a hustler, and I don't mean that in the bad sense, but I've always been like, if you want it, go get it. My mom would say, nobody's giving it to you. Go get it. You want it. You want those grades, or you want to go get it. So that's what, I mean, that's just what I always learned. And when I first started at Anytime, the girl that I worked with, I was like her. I wanted to be like her. She had tons of clients. She was a bodybuilder. And I thought, well, if I look like her, I'll get clients. But it wasn't like that. I kind of followed her and saw how she, you know, invited people in. And so like, but I've always been able to kind of talk my way out of things. I'm always pretty good at that. Even as a kid, you know, I didn't get out of trouble.
Yeah.
But
and so when did you start competing? Like, how did you get into, like...
I did that for a couple of years with my coach from Anytime. It's just hard because people think bodybuilding is, you know, it's 6-12 weeks. It's really not. It's a whole year. Like,
it's all
even
day.
when people come to me and say now that I want to do it, I'm like, it's a year. You're a year out. So it was a 12... And my coach, again, he worked at the gym with me, so he saw me every day. So to work with him, it was like... It was... Every show he wanted to put you in, and he, you know, and I was getting like second and third, and it was like, I'm not winning. What can I do? And we moved weight classes and all that, and it was just, if I'm not number one, I will.
If I'm not winning, I don't want to do it.
But my goal is to do that. I got first place in a show, and I'm like, I'm out. I'm done. I don't want to do it no more. Because you can't go on vacation, you can't eat anything. You eat, sleep, and breathe that. And I was still, at the time when I, you know, at the fire department and in the emergency department.
Oh, yeah,
and in the ED.
Yeah.
So the emergency department and the fire department, you never know. I mean, I would have nuts in my pockets and like stuff, you know.
Yeah, that's I talked to Ricky about that too, because, you know, he's paramedic and he's competing, and I was like, you know, dude, like that's the thing. Like when Dale was competing, and he was working at the fire department, it's like, you don't know when you're going to be able to eat, but you have to. It's not an option.
It was a job, and I just got to the point where I was tired of it. Part of my training was boxing. So that's kind of how. And I had a guy that came in. He was from New York. His name was Jose, and he said, "You look like you could actually fight." And I go, "Really?" And he was like, "Yeah." I go, "Okay, I want to do that."
So you decided to trade bodybuilding
and it was
fighting.
the same shit. You're just year-round training.
Yeah.
And he was from New York, and he was this little Hispanic guy, but he was like, rode me. I was like, Jesus, okay. Like, I mean, like 7 miles a day, he'd be calling me, did you run your 7 miles? Like, it's 6 a.m. No.
Not yet.
So that's how I got into.
How many fights did you have?
I only did amateur stuff.
Okay.
So I only did some amateur stuff. I think like 11 amateur fights. Where I'm from, there's not, especially 15, 20 years ago, there wasn't very many women. So I was sparring all guys.
Yeah.
A lot of times I had black eyes and busted lips.
And then would have to go to work with black eyes
Yep. And people would, put their hand on me and say, if you need to talk, I'm here. And I'm like, oh, no, I'm training for a fight.
You're abused.
I mean, people at Target would, come up to me and give me that look. And I'm like, oh, and I'm like, what? And then I realized, I look like someone just beat me up, which happened.
Yeah.
So it was hard to find people to spar with and fight with. So it just didn't really go anywhere where I was at. And that's when we kind of decided we were going to move here.
Well, at what point did you decide to cut your hair? Because that was when you were in Ohio still, right?
So training
Because that's the other thing. Like people seeing you in Target with like black eyes and stuff. Like it's not like you were running around with a mohawk.
I had long hair. I had long hair, and I would do
totally different.
My mom would French braid it for me, as tight as she could, and she would put gel in it, and then she would tuck it up under for me, even though she hated. My parents hated it. Yeah, they hated the bodybuilding and fighting. They hated both of them. Yeah. Because they said, you already come off so intimidating. This makes it worse. and I like that. I liked that people just didn't leave me alone. Yeah. And it was getting in the way. And I cut it short and hated it. Kind of like I don't know what to hear, but I have a lot of hair. Yeah. And so I went into the girl and said, 'cause at that point it was hard to braid back. So if you get your hair stepped on or a knee, I'm stuck. I rip my hair out or tap out. Yeah. So I said to her, just shave it all off. And she goes, like your whole head? And I was like, something. I'm like, I can't. And she said, how about we give you a mohawk? And I was like, cool. And we did it. And that was my nickname, the Hawk. Yeah. So that's how I got the nickname. And it's still hard to grow out at this point. So I'm just like, I'm gonna stick with it. Yeah, I'm at this age. I'm like, whatever. Yeah. So I'm keeping it. Yeah. I guess I don't know.
You've already trained it. So
yes, and it doesn't do anything else. I mean, I wake up in the morning with my hair sticking straight up with no product in it.
Yeah, mine would not do that.
Yeah, I have very thick, coarse hair. So yeah.
Yeah, I can.
So and then I got the nickname, and then it just stuck, and yeah.
And so what made you decide to move south? From Ohio to leave Ohio.
My parents have a condo here. We came here every year for vacation with 8 kids. Obviously, we're not going to Aruba. So we used to come here. We had a condo, and the last summer we came here all my whole family, all the kids that are married brought their whole kids. I mean, it was 30 of us. Mike and I were doing something, and I said, "How about we move here?" And he's like, "I'm in the union. What I do, I can do anywhere. So if you're serious, let's do it." Yeah. So we had just bought and built a brand new house. We were in there only 2 years. And I said, let's do this. Let's put the house on the market. If it sells, we'll know it's a sign. Let's go. If it doesn't, we'll stay. We put the house on the market. One person came to saw it. They put an offer in. We had an offer less than 24 hours.
Oh, shit.
So we were like, let's pack it and go.
Yeah, I guess this means we're going.
We packed up and came here. Morgan stayed up there with my parents, did some schooling, stayed up there and then came down here when she was done. But yeah, we came down with literally, and people that bought our house wanted half the stuff in it, and so we came down here with one truck full of stuff. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And said we're going to do it.
The good thing is, I mean, he was in unions, and you have professions that travel. Yeah. Right? So you could be a paramedic anywhere. Yep. Doing physical fitness stuff, you could do that wherever.
I've always kept all my certifications up for that reason, just in case. Yeah. So I don't let my NASM expire. I don't let my medic, expire.
Because you went back to being a paramedic here.
I did. I went back to school and did a paramedic refresher, took the test, got that, and then went to the aesthetic nursing program after that, and that's in Florence, which was hard too. But yeah, I did it here for a couple of years, but it's very different than up north, and it just the town I was in the area, because it's Horry County, it was just not. I did not like it at all.
Yeah, you said like a lot of like drug related.
Yeah, and we again, I mean, Cleveland, Ohio, we had a lot of drugs, obviously, but it's different when like lower income areas where you really can't help people. There's really not much you can do. Yeah. And so for me, you know, I'm like a bleeding heart. I want to help everybody. It just wasn't. Yeah, I just didn't like it. So I did that even when I was working here. For a little bit.
Yeah,
even when I came here.
Yeah, you were still doing
so Mike had a job before we moved here. He had a job. I didn't. So I had to basically like introduce myself, like, hey, and you know, came here with no clients, no one knows me. Yeah. I'm some strange, you know, at that point when we first moved here, I was still in not competition, but competition mode where I was still very muscular, you know. And
did you like start, did you find title and kind of just like fall right into there? Or
nope.
Like,
I actually called the manager from My Anytime Fitness, called the one from down here, and gave me a reference, and he said, sure. And when I got there, he said, I don't really like hiring women. And I was like, oh, great. But he hired me. And
which is so crazy because they're constantly looking for women here. Like, we can't find female trainers. It's like, you know, like we're constantly searching. Like, so to say, here's a female trainer.
It's like a unicorn. I'm like, So, but yeah, so then I came here, and I was working at Anytime Fitness, and I didn't really care for it either. It's just different in the South.
It's a different
when you're from up north, like everybody's a hustler. Like you gotta, and down here everyone's like, yeah, I'll be there in the morning, and it could be noon when they come. Yeah. So Anytime, or that's where I was working like 2 weeks, and then Title Boxing, someone from them had reached out to me and said, we heard that you like are into boxing. Someone like saw me at Lowe's grocery store and said, I think this girl. I looked her up on Facebook. You know, I had old pictures of bodybuilding, and so they called me, and I think I was their first hire.
When they first opened here.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they weren't even open when they hired when they called to hire me, and I'm like, well, I like literally was at Anytime. I think 2 weeks, and they called, and so I went and interviewed. And I was like, listen, I don't train actual like fighters. Like I was trained, but I can box. And they were like, that's all we need. Okay. So they hired me.
It's more fitness boxing there anyway.
It is. Like, that's what it is. Fitness. Yeah.
Stuff. Yeah. And like you and Curtis, like pretty much, you know, built a lot of that. The programs that they had for it.
So he was at One Punch, which was Pete, and that's where I was actually working out because I didn't work out at any time. So I was working out. And that's how I met Curtis. So when I got to Title, they were like, I'm like, I can't quit. And they're like, we'll pay you. They paid me for 2 months before the gym was even open, just so I wouldn't go elsewhere.
Yeah, so they had you.
So they had asked me, do you know anyone else? And I was like, I do. There's a guy at One Punch, you know, and so that was Curtis. Yeah. And so Curtis got hired on like a week after, and like him and I would just like go there while they were building it and like hang out and pass out flyers, and it was awkward. Yeah. But we hardly knew each other. But that's how I met him. Yeah. So that was like 10 years ago. That was 10 years ago.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was there about almost, I was there 2 years, and I was the manager, and I was doing classes and all that for them. Mm-hmm.
Like, what's your favorite kind of PT? Like, a favorite kind of client?
Boxing all day.
Like, so boxing clients
love
are
it.
your preferred.
Yeah,
like you want to do.
I actually like. Yes, I love boxing and I love bodybuilding because you can watch someone from start to finish. It's just the progression of it. Like when you're training a client, average client, no offense, day in and day out. And I have clients that I've trained, 5 days a week. I have, a guy that's like 8 years now. Yeah. You don't see. Yeah. You're not seeing stuff. But when you're training someone to compete, you can watch them grow, and
it's a transformation.
Yes, and I like that.
And it gives you validation of what you're doing too.
Yeah. So I love boxing, and I like doing like stuff with the competitors. I love helping with routines and posing and food and all that. Because I've done it. I've done just both of those, but for the majority of my life, a sport I've done. So I can usually help somebody.
Yeah. So. And so now you spend like most of your time running the Sculpted Recovery Spa. And you talk a little bit about how you got into doing that. I mean, obviously, listening to your background in biology and like the nursing stuff and all of that, it makes sense, right? The paramedic stuff, it makes sense that you would get into it. But it wasn't like you weren't searching out doing that.
No.
Yeah.
I was working at Tidal, I believe, and the direction kind of started to change there, where I was like, I'm not really liking this anymore. And I remember coming home one night and saying to my husband, I think I just taught my last class there.
Oh,
and
wow.
he goes, how many people? I go, it's 50 people in the class. But I said, I just had a meeting with the owners and was kind of telling them some of my ideas. And I think that they, didn't like that. So I had a class like 3 days later, and they called me and said, hey, I think we're going to go a different direction. And I was like, cool. And I knew it immediately because they had asked me for feedback. I gave it to them, and I immediately knew probably should have kept my mouth shut.
Yeah,
but I had done everything I wanted to do. I had met someone who worked for a plastic surgeon here and said they were looking for their pre-op, like a nurse to do like vitals. Mm-hmm. And I went and applied. He hired me. So that's how I kind of got into aesthetics.
Started, okay.
Now, let me say, I had been getting Botox and all that, but.
So you were a client.
Yes, not of his, but yes, I was a client. So that's how I got into it.
Yeah.
And so I was working there a little bit, doing stuff for him, I think like 1 or 2 days a week. And then I came and met you. Dawn, was it Dawn?
I think Dawn, yeah.
Yeah, who was in my classes.
Yeah.
She said, you have to come to Sky Fitness. You have to come there. So I remember coming and meeting you, and you were like, sure.
Yeah,
and
we'll do boxing.
Yeah. And you were like,
because even at the time we didn't even have a place to put boxing.
No.
It was like, yeah, sure, I like boxing. Like, let's find a spot. Yeah.
Yeah, and I had clients, so I was like, I have clients. I just don't have anywhere to train them.
That's all I need to do.
So. Yeah. And then it was like within like 2 weeks, you're like, do you want to be the manager? Because our manager is like MIA. And I was like, sure. Yeah. So I remember like being here just for a couple of weeks, and I was already like trying to be the manager.
Well, I mean, like running a business, once you find a competent person.
I know. Take it. Trust me, I know.
Run with it. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, like, that's why it was easy to kind of then say, like, let's do, let's open a studio, right? Yeah. Because like we were doing, I think at the time we had classes and tanning salon and like I was
the smooth trust
from
me,
the second it started.
People ask me all the time about that one.
So I was more than happy to trade that and change it to the studio. But that's which I think has been a huge change for everything that we've done in the whole business. Right?
Agreed.
But so but so like I mean that's huge because like the boxing program took off, like all the classes took off, what do you think about like managing personal trainers?
It's like herding cats. I mean, it's just what everyone thinks PT is, it really is not. Yeah. It's people's skills. Like you have to literally invest in these people's lives. Like I always say, like, you need to give a shit about their dog or their cats, like, because that's what people care about. Like people down here, especially, people are big animal people. Up north, it's not very different. But that's why I mean,
care about their cars in their house.
And I would have people call the fire department and say, "Can I get a ride to the hospital? Can you send a man?" Like they would want me because in the back of the ambulance, like I was like, stop doing that. I'm not, So, but I compare that to, you've got to have people skills. If people, give them something to remember you by, and they will. I mean, people, obviously the hair, people always remember me. Yeah. But even in personal training, like, if you're looking for a nice, sweet trainer, like, hey, you're doing so great.
Oh, yeah, because I've seen you, like, you're one of the ones that definitely beats the crap out of
I'm like, that's not me. Yeah. I'm like, you look like shit. That's horrible. That was the worst punch. I'll call everyone in my class bad. I always say, if you're offended by bad words, don't come to my class. I'm sorry, Dad, but I'm gonna say bad words.
Like I've seen you training people on the floor, and I'm like, damn, Amanda. Yeah. That person, like I remember wall sits.
Yes.
Like this one person you're making do wall sits, and it's like, okay, 20 seconds. Okay, now for the next 20 seconds, you can go down even further. Yes. And then this went on for like 2 full minutes. Yes. And I was like, no. Thank you.
And I'm like, and I always tell people, if you want that, I have that person for you, but that's not me. But so everybody has different personalities, so you got to find what their personality is, and then
have a niche too. Like you just said, like
100%.
There's different people like different trainers, right? So like pick who you want to be. right?
So I knew that I liked doing boxing, and I liked doing like circuit training. That's kind of where my niche was. Even in Ohio, I did a lot of classes. I introduced anytime they would have like a new class, like at that time CrossFit wasn't big. When they start doing CrossFit, I was like, I'm going to get CrossFit certified. I got Resist certified. I just kept doing things that I thought would, and they were all beneficial. I learned so much from all those, and I always say, even as a trainer who's been literally training over 20 years, I still learn stuff.
Yeah,
every
that's
time.
The thing I would say, as like advice to anybody, from what I've seen too, like you got to keep learning.
Yep, always
new stuff.
And
like,
people make fun of me.
New classes, like new, routines. Like, I mean, it's not like exercise physiology changes all that much, but the equipment changes.
Yep.
The style of workout. Is
even how you use
fashion. Like so.
Yeah, and that's what, like with the classes, that's the problem is. They go in like phases. Like boxing is huge, and then nobody wants to do it. Spin is huge, then nobody wants to do it.
Right.
Aerobics,
like
yoga, Pilates,
like
dance, all of these things. Yeah, I mean, I used to do that. I think I still have that certification.
Like 20 years ago, but I've seen like I think Les Mills or somebody is doing it again.
Oh,
like they're bringing it back.
He could do it. He could do it. Yeah.
But I mean, that's another thing. Like in terms of classes, like what advice do you give to people who want to be instructors? Because you're the person that kind of evaluates like all the classes too. So like, what are you looking for when you're evaluating somebody's class?
When I do classes, when I evaluate a class, it's like, are you starting on time? Are you giving?
Yes.
I always say, and their titles sent you to, if you wanted to be a manager, they sent you away to like I think it was 2 or 4 week training camp, which it was great. I learned like a lot. Like, they always said, that they say it, show it, throw it. So I'm going to tell you what I want you to do. I'm going to do what I want you to do, and then I'm going to show you how to do it. So I kind of look for that in every class.
Okay.
Not everyone knows, what a hack squat is or, pec deck. They're like, what? So if you're telling people what the machine is or what the exercise is and then showing it, that's why I always look for that in a class.
Yeah.
But I just look for energy mostly, and the class is involved. You're involved.
Right.
Title also was, hey, every round go around and touch every. If you had 50
Interact
people, it
with
was
every person.
it was hard, but that's another really important thing. Soon as if I take a class, as soon as the trainer looks away, I'm like, I stop. I do Curtis's class, and I'm like, walk away from me, because I cannot throw this punch this hard, this long. So it's that you're involved. So in my classes, I always get a workout because I'm running around. I'm never just standing there or sitting, yelling at stuff. So I like that, and especially in a class. So that's usually what I look for.
Yeah. So I know one of the things that kind of like started to kind of make you take, an even bigger turn towards like the med spa stuff was, we had someone in the building who did med spa stuff, and you started working with her. But like what kind of, other than just like, hey, I'm going to do something new and make some more money, was it like, getting the itch to kind of do something different? Or like was med spa kind of stuff because it's becoming... I mean, over years now, it's becoming more and more of a thing. Was it just something that like you were kind of on the lookout for, just having some background in it?
I remember when I was working for that plastic surgeon, a lot of things he was doing, I was like, I could do that. And one of the other girls that worked there said, oh, they have a medical aesthetic program. You should, if you're interested, you can do it. So I looked it up, and I was like, yeah, I could do this. So then I did that class and just didn't do anything with it. Like, I mean, I just... so I kind of left it. And then the girl that rented the back space from us said, I need a medical person here. Do you still have your, medic? And I'm like, yeah, I do. So that's really all I did. But I was like watching her and like, all this that you're doing, I could do. Yeah. And she didn't have any medical knowledge. So I met another physician who him and I kind of clicked, and he was like, we should work together. So that's really how I got into it. And I just learned that I was good at it. Yeah. And I always say I went from seeing people on their worst day where everybody was upset to now everybody likes me. So everybody's happy when they come back there. There's no, there's no real issues, although I get some issues. But yeah, so it's just a difference, and it's like PT.
Well, now you get to listen to everybody's problems while you're doing services on them as opposed
yes,
to training.
that's that is though when they come in.
It's still the same stories though.
Yeah, but yeah, it was easy. Really, when COVID came, I was like, when we had to close the gym down, I was like, I might have to get another job. I might have to go back to work. Yeah. And I knew I didn't want to get back in traditional healthcare. I've done it, and I'm over it. Yeah. So I was going to work for that physician that I work with now.
And what are some of the stuff that you do in the spa?
I mean, we do everything from Botox and fillers to laser lipo. We do even like recovery stuff, red light therapy, oxygen therapy, RF therapy, RF cavitation for cellulite. So we do a lot back there. We have other nurses. We have a physician.
Like any kind of body sculpting kind of stuff.
All kinds of stuff. Yes, and a lot. And we have great machines. They really work.
Yeah. I mean, the technology has come a really long way. Even since I think we started doing it. But you can do everything from you're burning fat with lasers, you're freezing fat with, these machines and lasers. You're using injections, you're using massage, like the RF stuff. Yeah. Like it's pretty much, and it's from any body part too, right?
Yeah,
we do. You and I were talking about jaw stuff earlier, right?
Yeah, don't look at it. Don't listen to it. No, yeah, and it, like I said, there's a lot of, just the technology. Even from when I went to school, when I was in medical school, my gosh, the things that, I remember when I first got out of paramedic school, on the ambulance, we pushed, I think, 9 or 11 different medications. That's all we did. And when I came here and had to go, take a refresher course, it's like 45 different medications that you have to know all the, contraindications and action, all that of. Yeah. So it's just how things have changed so much. But yeah, so I just, when I worked for the other doctor, I liked it because, it's instant results from a lot of it. Yeah. And, it was cool. And I just, I miss being in the medical field, but I didn't want to go back to traditional healthcare. So I liked working in the med spa.
What do you find works the best? And I obviously it's person by person, right? But what do your clients find? So obviously there's different problems. So I guess I should narrow the question down a little bit. But for cellulite, what are some of the best treatments that you do that you see the best results for on just cellulite?
So probably the RF cavitation is the best because you can see
which is just like a wand, right?
It's a big head that has a vacuum and it has a red light laser and radio frequency, that's what RF is. And it basically draws and it just smooths the skin, and literally you can get up and go, that's totally different. Yeah. So that one works great. It's really just the massage of it plus along with there's a little it does get people say, okay, that's getting really hot. So the laser turns up as high as it will go.
But it's like conditioning your skin, basically.
And so that one works great on cellulite. Okay. But we also do weight loss. We have a whole
talk to me about all of the weight loss medications, because that's obviously the hot topic these days. Right?
Yeah.
You get a lot of people that are doing that, right?
Yes.
And a lot of them have good results.
Yeah. We have over 300 people that we've helped lose weight. 300 people over, actually. We're over that. And we have we hit 25 the other day of people that have lost over 100 pounds.
Oh my gosh. Mm-hmm. Wow.
And keeping it off.
Is it just injections, or is it, are they also obviously on a workout program, diet? Or are you doing the holistic thing?
We do kind of everything. Okay. So we start with a consultation where we sit down and go over kind of what are you eating? And everyone's like, I eat pretty well. I don't eat that bad, and blah, blah, blah. So we're like, okay, well, you can't really look at someone and say, you're lying, but you're lying. Yeah. So we do the whole thing. But to get the best results, what I have found is we make people come in every week. Every week you got to be accountable to me or one of my staff and get on the scale. And so we always say this, we don't care how your clothes fit, I don't care how you feel, which is great, because I'm glad you feel better, but I need numbers on the scale. Right. Because science is math. It's just, that's what I have to explain to people,
and it's you're not when you say get on the scale, you're not just talking about weight. It's you're doing body fat analysis.
Yes. Well, when they first come in, we do full body comp, full intake. Yeah. But when they come in weekly, it really is just a weigh-in and a 10-minute chit chats. But they are accountable, and I think that's what why people fall off is there's really no accountability.
Yeah.
But I give them a meal plan and a preferred foods list. So these are good foods to eat. There's a variety of medications. We do carry a lot of them.
And it's all like what you qualify
yes,
for, right?
you have
too?
to
like,
qualify.
It's not like everybody can go back there and get Ozempic, semaglutide.
Yep.
Shit.
No.
Like you got to be.
And they make,
qualified.
those are called GLP-1s. They make like 6 different ones now, and what works for you might not work for that person. So a lot of these people are getting these, injections, and they're getting, seeing a doctor once every 3 months.
Yeah.
That's what I kind of discourage. That's why I have my people come in every week. They either see myself, Kendra, Chip, somebody.
Yeah.
Where they have to, again, get on a scale, tell us how they did, and then we decide, what medication would work best for them, if any. Some people, don't don't require any. Some do. So we do all the weight loss medications. We, the GLP-1s, the B12, all that stuff.
That's the other thing I think people don't realize is that, everybody thinks about Ozempic and, the semaglutides and all that kind of, stuff that like, Kardashians and stuff and celebrities have made famous. But like there's so much else like beyond that, right? And it's, like you mentioned B12. Like people have no idea, like how how you need it and the difference that it makes in your life, right? Like I took it when I was vegetarian for a while, right? Which is necessary.
Yes.
Like it's something that you don't get, if you're not eating meat. But like even if you do eat meat, like it's something that kind of like falls off depending on what is going on chemistry wise, and like can totally throw off any of what you're trying to do.
Right. Yeah, we do a full A to Z vitamin, and we have a B12, and people will come in and be like, "I love that shot." And I'm like, "Right." Like the next day, you wake up. Feel good shot. Yeah. Yeah, you wake up and feel good. So for sure.
Happy shot. Yeah. I mean, the other thing too is one of the things that that I do is the peptides, right? And like, I think one of the things to kind of build awareness on is just like how those types of drugs and injections help people like my age, right? Like that where hormones are starting to be a problem.
Right.
So it's, and then you don't necessarily have to go full on hormone replacement stuff, but like just, there might just be simple peptides and vitamins that kind of help regulate what you have going on. And, I'm somebody that'll happily testify that like body shape wise, totally different since I've been doing that because, just I was becoming insulin resistant and like the whole thing just because of what the hormones are doing. And just you need something, like my whole appetite was different. Like what I wanted to eat was different. Like my energy level, and just there was no way around it. And that's something that's been a life changing for me. So I think that's something that like I wish people knew more about. Honestly, and I'll tell anybody that.
Before we started doing peptides, the doctor that I work with, he was like, I think we should really do a lot of research. So we did a lot. And there were some that I was like, I think are great, and some I don't. And he had the same feeling. So we do several different peptides for different things, but peptides are just man-made aminos. So it's, you're just giving your body what it's deficient in. We're not, plugging you full of drugs or anything. But there's ones for healing. There's ones for women that are like pre, post, even in menopause. We can kind of help with that if you don't want to go full on hormone replacement. Yeah. They work for most people, but some people have to go full hormone replacement. But we do a lot of peptides for injuries. You got an injury, that BPC 157 is a great one for injury. Yeah. They just make a lot, and this industry grows, they're making new ones and they're refining them and they're better. And even the trizepatide and the semaglutide, the pharmacy that we use, they're changing them all the time, and more. They're coming out with new ones.
Is it like because they're being innovative, or is it because there's like shortages and stuff? So they're kind of just
probably both. Okay. But like if Pfizer's going to make one and make $1 billion, well, guess who else? Somebody else is going to do the same thing. Yeah. And I should have paid more attention in chemistry because I could be a millionaire, but biology was my route. But so it's just there's a lot of these medications. There's people think it's Ozempic and Mounjaro. No, there are so many of these now, and so it's just as time goes on and people are realizing we don't need a ton of medication to feel good. The peptides are the way to go because they're all natural, and like I said, they're man-made aminos. We're not putting anything in your body that your body cannot break down. Or doesn't already have.
Yeah.
So everyone that we do that with is like, man, I wish, I had a guy that his hip was really bad. So we did 8 weeks of injections, and he night and day.
Oh, wow.
That was Shelton, his shoulder. I've got a couple boxers that we've done.
Yeah, because even like soft tissue stuff requires all
one
of that.
One of our fighters had,
It's again like it's the peptides and the aminos that help your body to recuperate and all that kind of stuff.
So we have all those.
Oh yeah, for the fighters too.
Yeah, I've done quite a few. I've done quite a few of the fighters or shoulders. Like when you're boxing, shoulders and elbows. I'll show you my elbow, but shoulders and elbows go out a lot. So we can do a lot, and we don't do as much peptides as I wish we did because I've done so much research on them and they're so interesting. But yeah, it's really cool. I mean, to see someone heal or someone, I have a lady right now who was she said, I've been in menopause for 12 years. And I'm like, you haven't. You haven't. No, just a doctor. And she was on 42 different medications and supplements. She took 42 pills a day.
Yeah, no.
We started her on peptide therapy. She's at week 8. She takes 0 medication.
Oh, wow.
0. Nothing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, she came in the other night crying, and it was a full consultation again. But yeah, I mean, it was just like just to see the difference. She's been able to take off 15 pounds. She doesn't have night sweat. If you've ever been in menopause, those hot flashes, man, are brutal. But she's completely balanced out. And it's, 42 different medications and supplements. Yeah. Because every different physician was saying, take this. Yeah. And we take the more natural approach. I would like to get people off all, pharmaceuticals if possible. Yeah. I have thyroid disease, so I take thyroid medication. So I get it. I can never stop taking it. Yeah. So hereditary things like that, you're stuck. Yeah. But as far as things like, men, your hormone levels have dropped. Your testosterone levels have dropped, all that stuff. We can help with all that.
Well, I mean, that's a great example, right? Because I was thinking about this the other day, that women, obviously, we been complaining about estrogen dropping and menopause and all that kind of stuff for years, but only now do you hear about all the issues from loss of testosterone for men. Right?
Yeah, and I have a lot of men back there.
People don't realize there's a guy here who not that long ago complaining about low energy, blah blah blah, and had himself tested and had no testosterone, right, in his blood supply. Started having that worked on, but then ended up having diverticulitis. And it turns out, and this is something that I read after that it's something that low testosterone can lead to diverticulitis.
And there's a lot,
known, right? But and then you think about if low testosterone leads to diverticulitis, then it's also colon cancer, trigger.
I was just going to say
that kind of stuff, right? That and all of this is just hormonal regulation that as we get older gets messed up, and you don't necessarily have to replace the hormone, but the rest of everything else that's missing, that's kind of draining you of that. Is kind of the first thing to go after, which is why, I take the peptides and I think they work so well, and I don't need the hormone replacement stuff because I'm just I also take a probiotic and all of how all of that works together to help keep you from having the hot flashes and night
low
sweats
energy,
and low energy and my midsection blowing up. It's been huge.
Yeah, men and women, I always say, have 3 of 4 Fs. They're fat, they're 40, 50, and fatigued. So I get a lot of people, and that we can really help with. I mean, Chip, the doctor I work with, always says they got 3 out of the 4. I mean, so that's what we get. We can help with that without
you don't
pumping
have to endure
you.
that. It could be as simple as not for everybody.
And it's not. And I have told people, hey, we need to do hormones. You're at a point where I think this is going to benefit you more than the peptide. We just say that, and we have had that, but we have helped so many people that I see a huge difference in.
Yeah.
So like the premenopausal, early menopause, and post, we can really help with.
And I mean, as we have like kind of, the aging population and like more and more people that are older, like it's that much more important to know kind of, how to help that instead of just, just dropping
and
off.
I feel like at Sky, we cater to, our senior community. I mean, more so than any gym I've worked at some bodybuilding, I've worked at some gyms, which is, so I think we cater to that I really do, and I think
so I think the stuff we do in the spa, like it just goes in hand in hand, like with
helps with them.
helping that, and then like the other stuff that I haven't taken the time to take advantage of yet, but need to, is some of the like just aesthetic stuff that we were talking about, right? Because you have estheticians back there, you have a massage therapists too, right?
I do.
But you have estheticians that do all kinds of facial aesthetic, like from just straight up, I'm gonna get a regular facial to like
medical chemical peel,
and like oh, my skin under my eyes is like, and what is it like
nanofractional,
exactly.
we have nanofractional lasers, which that's probably my favorite for the face. But that works amazingly. But we have a lot of that. We have 2 laser technicians that both went to tech, and we have an esthetician, a massage therapist. So we do kind of full body.
Yeah.
So we try to be like do everything. So we do all that.
You don't do everything though, because I know
don't
do
do
everything.
I
you
don't
like hair removal. Like,
I don't
do hair removal back there, but, like,
we have a girl that
stuff,
does that, and she's fantastic. It's not me. Sorry, girls. No. Working in emergency and ER. I'm good. I saw my share of all of that, so I'm good. I want to see you clothed. So
I think we also talked about you don't do some of the like other type of you don't work on private parts, I guess.
I don't work on private parts. That's it. I don't want to see it.
If it involves private parts, you're not doing it.
No, and
because I think you said you had a conversation with the guy from Alpha Male about like different stuff too, and you're like, "Yep, nope, you can."
I'm like, no, thank you. I don't want any part of that, men or women. I mean, I just like I've seen so much. I'm like, I'm good.
Yeah.
So I will happily.
It's bad enough you have to hear their life story. I don't need to also see.
And most people, when they're back there, we obviously something parts. If you're doing stuff on your leg, you're going to have just be in your panties, and that's fine. But the full Brazilian waxing or I'm sorry, hair removal, I'm not doing.
Not you. Yeah.
No, but my girl's great at it, so.
You can stop in.
You can stop at any time. It's just not gonna be.
Yeah, don't ask Amanda in the grocery store.
Yeah, and I do get that. Yes. Hey, can I? But I always give them her number. But so we literally do everything.
Wow.
So at least what I can think of. But other than tanning, people always say, "Can you tan me or spray?" No. Yeah, no. I've sprayed tan bodybuilders and all that. I'm over that too.
Yeah.
Done with that. Mm-hmm.
So. What's the next thing that you want to get into, since you're somebody that kind of like is always
I'm always looking. I'm looking for my next class that I want to take. I don't know yet. I like the peptides, and they're bringing out so many new ones all the time. So they're doing some like peptide like chemistry classes at Tech that I've considered taking. It's hard because we are busy. And I like to be here every day, so I'd have to at least take 2 days to do that. So I don't know yet. I don't really know. But I'm somebody.
But you're on the lookout.
I'm always like thinking, what else can I do? Yeah. I love school. I love it, like educating myself. I just like knowing things, because I always want to help everybody. So if there's something I can learn, even if somebody comes in with something that I don't know, I'm like, I will reach out. I have quite a few physicians and other nurse practitioners that do this. And so we reach out or do a group text. So I always try to find a way to help somebody.
Yeah, how you can help the person do what they need done.
Yep.
So last question, and this is my typical last question.
Uh-oh.
If you had to name a person who you feel like is kind of had the most influence over, where you've been to where you've come, who would you say that person was?
Well, it's my dad, for sure. Yeah, easy question. My dad. Because he was always just driving us to be better. I just remember even on our team, the teams that I played as a kid, I always thought I was the shit. Like I always had that cocky. That's how my dad was too, by the way.
He influenced that.
Yes.
Too.
So I always had that attitude, and he always would knock me right off. He'd be like, there's always somebody bigger and badder than you. Just because you look like that, or just because you compete, just because you have, arms like a dude, he would say to me, don't think there's always somebody better than you. So I've always strived to be that person that people were catching up to, not the one behind trying to catch up.
Yeah.
So yeah, for me, it's just that's what I always want to do. And even when I work for somebody or when I work with somebody, which is I think why we work well together. What you're great at, I'm terrible at, and I think vice versa. Yeah. And I think that's a good. That's why we're such a good fit.
Yeah.
So
agreed.
But yeah, I'm always just trying to not find the next best thing, but always know the best thing and be able to do the best thing.
Yeah, and that's something that he gave to you.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Nice.
For sure.
Well, thanks for sitting with me. I'm happy that we finally got
I know this was a long time.
Together.
Yep. Yes.
We will definitely have to do it again, but don't expect it anytime soon because
I'm
we're
busy.
both very busy.
Yes. All right. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Amanda.
Thanks.
Bye.